Welcome to Awesome Video Game Memories, where we talk about awesome memories about video games. I'm Ryan, and the games that we're going to talk about today are the Dragonball Z Super Butouden series for the Super Famicom. Yes, Dragonball Z, probably my personal favorite anime of all time, and probably one of my favorite shows of all time. Follows the story of Goku, who kicks a lot of ass, gets the Dragon Balls, and saves the world. And he eats a lot. So my first exposure, kind of like most people my age, to Dragon Ball Z was actually not through the show at first, because in the early 90s the show wasn't exactly here in America till the mid 90s, so we actually got our exposure through Dragon Ball Z through Electronic Gaming Monthly, and they would do like a bit of an import coverage corner, and then they would cover a lot of the Dragon Ball Z Super Butouden games. And back when I was a kid, I didn't even know what Dragon Ball Z was. I didn't even know what anime was back then, but hey, these games look pretty cool with those golden haired characters and all. And then in 1998, when Dragon Ball Z was a smash hit on Cartoon Network, that made me and a lot of other people realize, holy crap, there's a whole bunch of Dragon Ball Z games. Oh my god, okay, let's go to superpope.com right now. Yep, I'm plugging that one for you, Dave. So I went to all the ROM sharing sites and I downloaded as many Dragon Ball Z ROMs as I could, and you know what? I couldn't read any of them. I didn't know Japanese back then. So I kind of skipped over a lot of the RPGs, especially that first one on the Super Nintendo. And the first game I played was Dragon Ball Z Super Butouden. So Dragon Ball Z Super Butouden, released in 1993, covers from the end of the original Dragon Ball where Goku fought Piccolo and all the way up to the Cell game. So I remember when I played Dragon Ball Z Super Butoden, back then we only saw like the first 53 Dragon Ball Z episodes, well, the first 67, so I kind of knew Goku and Piccolo were enemies, but I didn't, read the manga or see the anime before then, so I didn't know that Goku and Piccolo fought in the 23rd Tenkaichi Budokai, or the World Martial Arts Tournament. So I was like, oh hey, so this must be the fight with Piccolo, and wow, this game is actually kind of cool! Despite having really crazy arc jumps, attacks that can barely hit, and my opponent always getting the advantage over me. Dragon Ball Z games are great! Because Street Fighter 2 is the hottest fighting game in the 90s, it was only natural that Dragon Ball Z would capitalize on Street Fighter 2's game engine and make, Dragon Ball Z fighting games, and this is the first fighting game for the Super Nintendo. And oh boy, let me tell you, I liked this game back then when I played it. I even finished the game. But playing it again recently, and in comparison to the rest of the games, oh man. Well, I'll give it this. The graphics are great, and actually the music is great. Composed by legendary composer Kenji Yamamoto, who actually, helped with a lot of the songs in the series. He composed Dragon Ball Kai, and then he kind of was accused of plagiarizing music. But hey, his music was still pretty cool. So if there's one thing the Super Butoden games get right, is Vegeta's theme. Ah yes, Kenji Yamamoto. He knows how to capture my Saiyan Prince essence with this glorious music that I have on this iPhone Bulma gave me. Ah yes, it fits my theme really nice. So the music in this game isn't exactly the Shunsuke Kikuchi score from the TV series or the Bruce Faulkner or Shuki Levy music, but it's actually really upbeat sounding and really fits the tone of the series. But if you can acquire it, make sure you get the arranged versions of the music. Alright, so let's talk about the gameplay of Dragon Ball Z Super Butoden. How can I explain this? It's very floaty. Like, when you jump in an arc you can't control. It's like jumping in Castlevania, but you're jumping a lot farther away. Like, Goku's like, okay, Piccolo, I'm gonna jump right over you to hit you. Well, Goku, I'm gonna just hit you with my arm. Special beam cannon, back at Kosapo. So if you're expecting this game to play like Street Fighter, well, it plays a lot more like Street Fighter 1, where the moves are really, really fucking hard to do. Like, I can barely pull off a Kamehameha or a Spirit Bomb or Genki Dama, or I can barely pull off any of the moves in this game, so I kind of have to cheap my opponent out to beat him. But hey, the CPU has no problems pulling off their moves. Oh no, not at all. Yeah, the controls are very floaty and very stiff. I will give the game this, it did do something very innovative at the time. It actually had split screen when you got too far away from the other player. It's actually one of the better features of these Super Butoden games. And one of the biggest problems with this game, which they did fix in the other games, is you can't charge your ki. Like, you have to let your ki build up before you can do any like super special moves. I mean, like charging ki is like one of the staples of the Dragon Ball franchise. So if you want to pull off your Kamehamehas, your Genki Damas, your Makan Kosa pose, your Big Bang attacks, yeah, you pretty much have to pray that your energy charges up, like by actually hitting your opponent, which is not very easy to do in this game, and try doing some Street Fighter move combinations. Hopefully they'll work, but they mostly don't work. So I was actually playing these games on a keyboard for a very long time, and then I imported them. So I tried to play Super Butoden 1 with the original controller, and I still can barely pull off the moves. Now, and also what's messed up about this game, like, unless you put in a code, you can't play as Gohan or Trunks or Super Saiyan Goku or Vegeta. Like, what the hell, man? Well, I do understand you can't play as Super Saiyan Goku against, the first fight with Piccolo in the 23rd Tenkaichi Budokai, but still, like, even in versus mode, you can't play as Gohan, who's supposed to, be the hero of the Cell arc, and you can't play as Trunks unless you put in a code. And the code is weird. You have to rotate this and press these, just look it up on GameFAQs. It's weird. So this game pretty much goes through the end of Dragon Ball with the fight with Piccolo at the 23rd Tenkaichi Budokai, the fight with Vegeta, the fight with Frieza, the fight with the androids, the fight with Imperfect Cell, and ends with the fight with Perfect Cell with Gohan. And of course, if you beat the game on the highest difficulty and continues are allowed, you actually get to see a secret ending, but in all honesty, it's not worth it because once you put the game up at the highest difficulty, it's freaking impossible with the really floaty jumps, with that jump in an arc and all the hard special moves to pull off. It just ain't worth it, man. So yeah, Dragon Ball Z Super Butoden 1. Was it a really bad game? It's not a terrible game. Don't get me wrong, it's not the worst game in the bunch, but it's not a very good game. I mean, I guess since it was the first Dragon Ball Z fighting game on the Super Famicom, yeah, they didn't know how to really make a good fighting game back then, but you know what? Bandai improved on that with Dragon Ball Z Super Butouden 2. So Dragon Ball Z Super Butouden 2 takes place during the Cell arc and Dragon Ball Z Movie 9, BoJack Unbound. And for some weird reason in this game, you can't actually play as Goku unless you put in a code, but that code also enables Broly, the legendary Super Saiyan! Monster, no, I'm the devil, ha 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 ha, Kakarot. Kakarot! So let me tell you something. They improved the controls drastically in this game. Like, holy shit, the controls were completely refined. Well, you still kind of jump in an arc, but you get to control it a lot more, and the arc isn't as large, so at least you can kind of jump in front of your opponent when you need to. And this time, you get to charge your chi. Yes! Yes, you get to charge your chi willingly in this game, and now it's much, much easier to pull off your fancy special moves, so you can pull off your Kamehamehas, your Final Flashes, your Masenkos, and your special beam cannons, and your burning attacks, and all that awesome stuff, man, yeah. Although I do think the music in this game is a little darker and gloomy, but they still gave Vegeta an awesome theme. Good job, Kenji Yamamoto. This is the best song in the Dragon Ball Z game. It is composed by Kenji Yamamoto. There is no plagiarizing, cause it is all original. I am the prince of all Saiyans. I said so. So the story of this game begins with the Cell games, and then you have Goku and Gohan training, and then you have to fight with Cell, and then I remember Mr. Satan. Like, when I first played this game, I had no idea who Mr. Satan was. I was like, oh, who's this Afro guy fighting Cell? I mean, I kind of knew who Cell was, but not really, but I was like, oh my god, I get slammed into the mountain, holy shit. And playing this game completely in Japanese, I did not know what was going on. I mean, this was back in 1998, back when we were just watching, Goku and Raditz, and then after the fight with Rikum, it, recycles on Cartoon Network, yes, people back then, we were subject to 53 episodes of the same thing, which was the original 67 episodes in Japan. So the story mode in this game is kind of like, a pick-your-own-adventure type of game. Like, you get to be Gohan, and you get to choose Capsule Corp, you get to choose the city, you get to choose the desert, the ocean, the mountains. Like, you get to travel to a whole bunch of places, and then you fight different opponents. I mean, I can't really read Japanese. Well, I can read katakana and hiragana, but not so much kanji. But still, like, you definitely need a lot of kanji knowledge to really get through this game, or just download an English patch, but still... Although I do find it weird that this game goes through the Cell arc and Dragon Ball Z Movie 9, and well, a little bit of 8 because Broly's a secret character, but yeah, I wonder why they included Bojack and Zangia from Dragon Ball Z Movie 9 in this game. I'm sure they're pretty interesting characters and yeah, they're fun to play with, but it was a bit of an odd choice considering that this game was released in late 1993. So, in my opinion, Dragon Ball Z Super Butouden 2 is probably the best out of the Dragon Ball Z games on the Super Famicom, because they improved the gameplay a lot. They included the story mode, you get to charge your chi, now it's much easier to do all your awesome special attacks, and you can even counter the special attacks too, which is really fun to do. And there's a lot of playable characters, although you can't play as Goku unless you put in the code, which also enables Broly. So with that said, we go into the last Dragon Ball Z Super Butouden game for the Super Famicom, Dragon Ball Z Super Butouden 3, which covers the Buu arc from the beginning of the Buu arc all the way to Majin Buu's revival. So have you ever finished Dragon Ball Z Super Butouden 3? Neither have I. Well, I'm going to say this. The gameplay of this game is the best out of the series. It's much faster, you get to charge a lot faster, the moves are a lot easier to do, and... the problem is, where the fuck is the story mode? Yeah, so for all of you hating on Street Fighter V, Dragon Ball Z Super Butouden 3 did it first, releasing a half-complete game to the masses in order to get it out in time, so, to collect that monies, So I remember very distinctly back in 1998 when I first played this game with my friend, I asked my friend, who's this devil-looking guy? And he was like, oh, that's Zarbon reincarnated. I was like, whoa, that devil guy's like Zarbon reincarnated? That's amazing! Oh, well, until I found out later that's actually Dabura, and I was like, that's not fucking Zarbon! And the huge problem a lot of the 16-bit and 32-bit Dragon Ball Z games have is, they're very biased towards the Saiyans. Like, mostly it's the Saiyans who are playable. Like, in this game, you can't even play as Piccolo or Krillin. Like, yeah, I know Piccolo, he barely fought in the Buu saga, but still, he chopped Bobby D in half, so I guess that kind of counts as a fight. And like, the secret character's Future Trunks. Like, what's the point of having Future Trunks as a secret character? Yeah, no love for them human characters, I'll tell you that. And I mean, it's cool we have Kaioshin, aka Supreme Kai, we got Dabura, and then we got, Fat Majin Buu, and then we got Goten, Trunks, and Vegeta, and Goku, but still, man, you could have just taken Piccolo from the previous games and put him in this one. And of course, a lot of people are wondering, why isn't Super Saiyan 3 Goku playable in this game, and why isn't he a secret character? Well, I think around the time this game was coming out, I think the game was in development right around the time that Super Saiyan 3 came out in the manga in Japan, so there's no way Bandai would know that Super Saiyan 3 was going to be a character. And since there's no story mode in this game, you don't really have much of an incentive to really play it for a long time. Like, yeah, you can play against computer opponents, and then you can bring it to your friend's house and play against them for a couple hours, but other than that, it's just a really, really flat, bland game. Well, I would say the fighting is the best in the Super Butoden series, but as a whole package, the game really falls flat. So the Dragon Ball Z Super Butoden games on the Super Famicom, do they still hold up today? Well, kinda yes and no, because yeah, we have a way better Dragon Ball games out now, Dragon Ball Fighters, but still, these games still have a place in history. Like, they were the first fighting games on the Super Nintendo, trying to emulate that Street Fighter craze, and it made sense for Dragon Ball Z to have games like Street Fighter. Well, of course, these games are not perfect by any means of the imagination, but they're still very fun games, and I urge you to check them out. But luckily, these games are not very expensive on eBay. Like, I remember getting a complete boxed version of Super Butoden 2 for about $45 back then, and now I think you can get it for $19. I think that goes for the same for the rest of the games. And also, Dragon Ball Z Extreme Butoden on the 3DS actually has Dragon Ball Z Super Butouden 2 as an unlockable game. Bow down to my Saiyan Prince authority with this awesome theme Kenji Yamamoto composed for me. Oh Kenji, I'm so sorry you got fired. But it wasn't plagiarism to me because I've never heard these songs before. Well, because I come from the planet Vegeta, where we don't have that type of music, so I don't even know what original songs that you supposedly ripped off. What is that, Bulma? He ripped off what? Well, I don't even listen to music anyways. I'm just too busy training. In fact, I need to train right now. If you want to learn more about Dragon Ball video games, check out my book, Play the Dragon, The History of Dragon Ball Video Games, which covers everything from the Famicom all the way to the PlayStation era. And it includes reviews, retrospectives, and detailed information about all these games. And as an added bonus, if you purchase the physical copy from Amazon, you get the Kindle version for your phone or tablet directly for free. So buy it today. And if you want to contact me, you can contact me on Twitter at @RyanMolina. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, especially subscribe, and make sure to click on that notification bell so you know when we release new videos. And if there's a Dragon Ball game that you would like me to cover, or if you have your own memories about these Dragon Ball games, make sure to leave those in the comments below. Take care.